All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the February Green Chemistry Connections. I think we can just kind of like get started very slowly here as people keep filtering in. But I'll just be leading you through the small introductory part, and then I'm going to hand it over to our guest host for today. So on the next slide. Yes, so if it's your first time at the Connections, usually it is myself, Nimrat. I'm a program manager for higher ed at Beyond Benign, along with Natalie O'Neill, who's our director of higher education, and Juliana, who's the other program manager for higher education. We are the hosts of the Connections. So I'm speaking right now, but Natalie and Juliana are in the meeting and kind of zooming around in the back end of Zoom. So please feel free to direct any questions to us either in the chat or verbally if the opportunity arises. Just to kind of start off, thank you to our sponsors for the Connection series. And then every meeting we do begin with a land acknowledgement. So we do wish to acknowledge this unceded land on which Beyond Benign operates. And for years, it's been the traditional land of the Pawtucket and the Massachusetts nations. We do acknowledge the painful history of genocide, colonialism, and forced removal from this territory. And on our part, we know that further education is needed to learn the full history of the land that we occupy and all the Indigenous peoples it belongs to. But presently, we'd like to acknowledge that this meeting place is still home to many Indigenous nations across Turtle Island, and we do honor, respect, and celebrate the diversity of peoples that are connected to this land. And because we're in a virtual space today, we want to acknowledge that both us and our attendees, so all of you, are occupying unceded land and territories belonging to Indigenous nations across the world. And in terms of what we're doing on our part, we're committing to educating ourselves, supporting Indigenous communities, and taking steps to decolonize our organization. And we do encourage you as our attendees today to do the same. If you are curious about how we put together this particular land acknowledgement, there is a link there at the bottom of the slide that you can follow. And also these slides will be made available after the meeting, so you can access all of those links. Couple more logistics notes for today. So if you'd like to put your pronouns into your Zoom display name, just a short reminder that you can rename yourself in Zoom and just kind of type in your pronouns there. And that just lets us know how to refer to one another, especially when we're in the interactive breakout rooms today. And also live transcript is enabled for this meeting. So if you click the CC button at the bottom of your screen, you'll see a live transcript and you'll get subtitles for the meeting. And the slides and the transcript will be made available after the Connections. And the last thing that I'm going to say before handing this off to John would be just today to remind you that everyone in this meeting is abiding by our code of conduct. So as a general guideline, in addition to the bullet points that are here in breakout rooms, please do ensure that everyone gets a chance to talk and to ask their questions and to interact with each other. Sorry. Okay, so just kidding. There's another slide here. Please do join us in welcoming our newest Green Chemistry Commitment signers. Dominican University from Illinois, they're a minority serving institution, and McMaster University in Ontario in Canada are our recent signers. So a warm welcome to all of these, all the green chemistry people at these institutions. And then lastly, if you would like to join the conversation online, actually Juliana is on Twitter today, live tweeting about this event. So please do engage with us using these hashtags, or you can find us on our social media platforms today. And now I will hand it over to John.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Nim. So it's a really great pleasure to be here. Normally I am at the Connections just kind of in the background and listening to all the great presentations that always happen at these events, which are phenomenal. But today I have the great privilege and pleasure of being the guest host for today's Connections. So my name is Dr. Jonathon Moir. I'm the Senior Program Manager at Beyond Benign for the Green Chemistry Teaching and Learning Community. This is our new online platform that is launching this summer. So I can tell you a little bit more about that towards the end of the Connections today. But because this is sort of a special event, I've sort of taken over just for today. And this is a two-part series that we're actually doing for this Connections in February, as well as the Connections in April. So I'll tell you a little bit more about that in a second. I'm going to come back to the agenda in a moment, but what I did want to talk about is the Green Chemistry Commitment Program. So obviously our higher education team, this is one of our signatory programs that they manage. And I won't speak too much to it because they can tell you more about it than I can, but the GCC program is a phenomenal program. It's a consortium that aims to unite institutions from around the world to create a shared community around common goals. And those goals are all about bringing green chemistry into education. And so those focus specifically on the student learning objectives you see there. So theory, lab practice, toxicology, and application. And to date, we have 112 signers for this program from across the world. One of the important things about programs like this is that they are designed to help create community and to connect people together. And this is an extremely important concept because communities of practice in particular are one of the more effective ways of creating systemic change in education, but in any sector really. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about this because this helps give a little bit of context around why we're doing this sort of special session. So to give a bit of background around communities of practice and in particular communities of transformation, I wanted to give a little background on what these mean. So for those who may or may not have been part of communities of practice before, they are basically a group of people who share a common concern or passion for something they do, and they learn to do that together as they interact regularly. So you can probably find these pretty frequently in places like the institutions where you work, in businesses, in education, and other organizations. Now, these are a little different from social networks. Those are more loosely defined sort of connections between various individuals. And same thing with professional learning communities. Those are slightly different as well. They tend to be more structured. They're not as organic, and they tend to be more organizationally located. And they can commonly be found in elementary school, middle school, and secondary or high school. Now, the one that I also want to focus specifically on is communities of transformation. And this is what we're really aiming to do in the green chemistry sector, specifically in education. And that is creating a community that can sort of foster innovative spaces and through a common philosophy, create systemic change. And that's really what we want to do with green chemistry globally, is have that compelling philosophy. Why do we do what we do? Why is green chemistry important in education? We live that philosophy every day through the labs and the lectures and the in-class activities and the student groups and everything that we do. And we have a network of people together across the world that we can connect with and learn from each other. And there's a lot of evidence from the literature about the advantages of these types of communities. And so many of them are listed there, but you can also find them in many of the publications at the bottom of this page. A lot of great work looking at examples of science, technology, engineering, mathematics communities that have made some really phenomenal progress in creating systemic change around pedagogical approaches. So the whole point of talking about this is that what we really wanted to do is have a chance to bring together many of the teachers, educators around the world that do green chemistry in education to share their experiences, their passion, and their sort of approaches to help learn from each other and strengthen this community. So originally, this session was part of a symposium that was going to take place at the Atlantic Basin Conference on Chemistry, Atlantic Basin Conference on Chemistry in Marrakesh, Morocco in December. Unfortunately, that didn't end up taking place, and well, the symposium didn't, so we had to move it to a two-part virtual session. And we're very grateful that the Beyond Benign team, our higher education team, was willing to kind of host us for this session. So the goal here for all of you is to really present from across the world, various perspectives from different educators, from various program managers and directors, from stakeholders in higher education, all over the place, looking at what are some of the approaches they've taken to bringing green chemistry into their courses and their labs and in their institutions, and how can we kind of share that information together, learn from each other, and help move forward. So this is the two-part series that we're going to be doing. Today, obviously, we have 3 phenomenal speakers who will be here. We had a 4th speaker who unfortunately was unable to attend, had to drop out for personal reasons. So we're still very excited. We have our 3 wonderful speakers today from the UK, from the US, and from Nigeria. And then we have our 2nd session, which will be part 2 of this series that will be taking place in April. And at that time, we'll have 4 more wonderful speakers from Nigeria, Canada, Germany, and Malaysia. So we're very excited about these, and we hope that they will be very informative, and you'll be able to learn from all these wonderful individuals doing great work everywhere in the world.